What's going on, everybody? King of Dragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the McFarlane Toys Gold Label DC Multiverse Darkseid from Justice League. And so here we have the DC Multiverse Darkseid posed and out of the packaging. Before we take a look at the figure, let's actually run through his accessories really fast. Darkseid does come with his spear weapon, which we do see him use early on in the movie, but other than that he doesn't come with anything else other than the McFarlane display stage. So with those out of the way, guys, let's actually take a closer look at Darkseid. And so here we have a closer look at Darkseid, and McFarlane has blown me away with this figure. It is done so nicely. Now, essentially what we do have here is the Mega figure Darkseid with some new parts added onto him. So the head sculpt on him is still the same that we got with that initial Darkseid figure, but it's still really nice. I do like it. That's a really clean sculpt for Darkseid. Everything about it looks right, and I do like the fact that I don't know if they changed the peg on it, but his head seems to sit better on the neck than the original Mega figure Darkseid. So do keep that in mind, that maybe they readjusted some things on this figure. Maybe I just have his head tilted. I don't know. Something about his head does seem like it fits better, but just look at that profile. That is a mean profile. I really do like it. Now, as far as reuse, he's essentially the exact same figure. This back piece that you see on him is still the same that we saw in the original Mega figure Darkseid, but that's about where it ends, because this Darkseid does have his shirt or his armor on, and oh my goodness, does it look beautiful. Now, it's not as detailed as it was in the movie. I do understand that McFarlane had to scale this down just to make it look as nice as it does, but it still looks solid. Now, I know a lot of people are complaining that it's too bright. Yes, it is bright, but under my lights it gets even brighter. Under normal lights it's this really nice dark shade of blue, and a lot of people are using the flash from their phones to take pictures, and that just makes this look brighter. It's actually a really crisp color of dark blue. So yeah, really loving this armor piece. So besides the armor piece, he does have a new lower abdomen piece right here. Now, I don't want to take mine apart, but I have seen pictures of people who have taken the shirt off, and the abdomen piece on Darkseid is actually a little bit wider, and that does help give him a bulkier presence. And just look at how nice he looks with this armor. He just has this really intimidating presence that the other figure was lacking, so really do like that. His shoulders are the exact same. We get that same rocky look with a little bit of wash throughout it. Now, if you are going to do a wash on this figure, I do recommend using a dark gray rather than a black, just so you don't lose too much of those details and it doesn't overpower the figure. Just looking at the armor, it's the same arm that we got with the other one, but like I said, there's something about this figure that casts an even meaner presence to it. It might just be the bulk that the armor gives him. Now, one problem I do have with this, and it's an issue everybody has, is Darkseid's midriff. And so when they applied this, they had to have a cut somewhere, and as you can see, his belly does show when you move his armor around. Now, you can close that gap up to make it seem less noticeable, but it will seem noticeable on the back, and you can close that up to hide the gap, but then when you get to the front, yeah, same issue. My advice is just get him posed the way you want him, and then adjust accordingly to hide that gap, because yeah, that looks really clean right there. Skirt piece is the exact same that we saw with the original Mega figure Darkseid, so it's not that different. Same thing with the flap. The armor on his thighs is the same. Now, paint is going to vary from figure to figure. You can see mine does have some blue on him, which is a little bit disappointing, but it's not the end of the world. His shin guards look really good. Everything about that original figure that I loved is dialed to 11 with this figure, to be quite honest. there is really nothing negative I can say about the sculpt and detail on this figure. In terms of quality, yes, I can say that this figure does run into some issues with quality control. And I'm just going to go over my examples really fast. When I got him out of the packaging, he did have this bicep, for some reason, was glued down. I couldn't rotate it. I did eventually get it loosened, and it does function now, so just be aware that there might be some residual glue in his joints, so just move them slowly. I even did have some residual glue right here in his elbow. You can see that there's still some of that white residue from the glue. I did pry it off, and thankfully nothing broke, and was able to get that joint free. So if you're moving this guy around, just remember, don't force anything and heat it up as needed. Otherwise, you are going to have a really bad day. So this Darkseid casts an imposing presence. So how does he compare to other figures? Well, let's actually bring some out so you can see how menacing this figure looks in your collection. And so here we have Darkseid posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Darkseid posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. Here we have Darkseid posed next to a Lightning Collection White Ranger and a Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian. And finally, here we do have the gold labeled Darkseid posed next to the standard issue Darkseid. So with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually have a closer look at his articulation. Now, Darkseid does have a double ball joint in the head, and he can look up quite a bit. I do like the range and movement in his head. He can also look down really nicely, and then of course he looks forward, which is right about there. Head tilt works perfectly, giving him a lot of attitude, although Darkseid doesn't really need it. Head does turn left and right, no problem. Arms are on ball sockets, so they do go out to the side, they do go all the way around, and then they do move in and out a little bit, as well as up and down. We do have bicep swivel here in the figure. I was going to say in the forearm, but we do have double jointed elbows, which goes up pretty far for a big guy. I do like that. Then we do have a swivel and hinge at the wrist, so really good range there. I really would have liked it that was a ball joint, but that's too bad that it's just a regular hinge. Now, he does have articulation right here in the middle of his chest. Now, unfortunately, the armor does limit it, and you can see I'm trying to force it to move, but it doesn't want to move because the armor does really restrict that. Most of your articulation is going to come from the secondary ball joint down here at the waist, so he does crunch forward to about right there, leans to the side, leans to the other side, as well as rotates really nicely. Legs do go forward only to about right there. You might be able to force it a little bit more, but the standard, that's as far as it goes. Out to the side, no problem. Going back, it doesn't really go back that far. We do have a really nice thigh swivel on Darkseid. Really stiff knee joint right here, but we do have a single bend right there, giving us 90 degrees. We do have a swivel here at the ankle, as well as a hinge which goes up and down. And then we do have forward-facing pin for rocker ankle, although mine are stuck on both feet, and I really don't want to force these to move. They are really stuck, and even heating them up, I can't get the ankles to rock. Thankfully, they're in a position that they lay flat. I don't want to imagine what that would have been like if they didn't. I think that would be a travesty. And then, of course, we do have a toe hinge. So overall, with the exception of the rocker ankles being completely frozen, this figure is really solid, and I do like the way he came out. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get Darkseid posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so here we have Darkseid posed for my final thoughts, and overall McFarlane has knocked it out of the park with this figure. I really did like the original shirtless Darkseid, but having this version in hand makes me really regret spending that $40 for that unarmored Darkseid, but that's not saying he was a bad figure. This one is just much better. Everything that figure does, this figure does better. I mean, what can you say? This is a Darkseid that you would really love to have in your collection. He's big, he's imposing, he's menacing. The detailing on him is fantastic, and there's really nothing bad I can say other than quality control can be a little bit iffy with Darkseid here. I have heard reports of people having frozen joints, things that break when you tried moving them. Like I said, with mine, I did have some paint, or not paint, but glue residue on some of the joints, but I was able to free it up without any major damage to the figure, so I really am fortunate about that. If you do happen to run into quality control issues, I do apologize for that. That's a really terrible thing, especially for an action figure this good. If you are able to find this Darkseid, do not hesitate to pick this guy up. This is a really solid figure, and I can't recommend him any more than I already am. If you have the unarmored Darkseid, I would say sell that. Buy this guy. This is a much better figure. Everything that Darkseid does, this one dials it to 11 and does it so much better. I kind of think that he's actually worth getting multiple of them just to have your standard and then painting one up so it has that more dark blue armor that we saw in the movie. But overall, it's a really solid figure here. I gotta give McFarlane props for releasing this figure. Now, unfortunately, if you're like me, they did sucker you into getting two Darkseids, which I'm not too bummed out about. I still like that original figure. I just prefer this one in my collection. Now, this one isn't going to be having his spear accessory because he never used it. It was actually broken in the movie, so he wouldn't have it anymore. I think this is a really solid release. Now, it is unfortunate that this Darkseid is a Target exclusive, which is really, really bad for collectors. I would have liked it if it was a timed exclusive where Target had it for like a month and then you could get it at Walmart and other retailers, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen. If you are looking for this Darkseid, you do have to find them at Target, or hopefully Target.com does get them back in stock. I wasn't able to pre-order this guy when he initially came out. I was actually late to the ticket, so I had to wait until he was actually released. And when the night he was released, I pre-ordered him and got him shipped, no hesitation, because I really did want him, and I'm not disappointed with that. If you do pick up this figure, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't already picked up this figure, I really recommend you go out and track one down. Just don't pay secondhand market, because people are already asking $100 for this guy. I don't see $100 here personally. If you're going to spend that kind of money on a Darkseid figure, just buy the Storm Collectibles Darkseid. This is a really nice alternative to that. This is a $40 figure, and he looks fantastic. With that being said, guys, I'm KingofDragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and check out all my other action figure reviews, as well as all my other DC Multiverse videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it's in my collection, I'll gladly have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and as always, ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.